How does it make you feel when you all are away from technology? Pretty anxious, right? Even right now, it's probably difficult that you're not allowed to use your cell phone, right? Well, imagine having to spend your whole life away from technology. Not just not having your cell phone or your laptop, but imagine not even having access to a car or electricity altogether. Today, we are going to tell you about a culture that dedicates their lives to their religion and doesn't use technology at all. After intensive research, we are going to tell you about one of America's co-cultures, the Amish. We will tell you about the cultures, values, and traditions that shape Amish culture, from the origins, religious beliefs, daily life, and Amish custom rumspringa. Let's start with origins. The Amish originated in Switzerland in the 1500s as a branch of the Protestant Christian group, the Anabaptists, which means rebaptizers. According to Diebel's Amish Facts article, the Anabaptists are a group of Protestant Christians who differ in the views of the traditional Catholic Church in the sense that they believe people should be baptized as adults from ages 16 to 25, rather than the view of the Catholic Church, which believes they should be baptized as infants. The Amish are the more conservative branch of these Anabaptists. After facing much religious persecution because they differed from the views of the Catholic Church, the Amish came to America in the 1700s, and many settled in southern Pennsylvania in a place known as Lancaster County. Today, there are over 300,000 Amish in the United States, and the population is rapidly growing, according to the Berg's Amish population article. Also, many Amish have settled into the Midwestern United States in places such as Illinois and Ohio. And today, the two largest Amish population counties are in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and Holmes County, Ohio. Now that we know how the Amish got to where they are today, let's talk about what they believe. As I said, the Amish are very conservative Protestant Christians who take their religion very seriously. They use the Bible as their guide to living and take a strict interpretation of it. In church, the Amish use the German Martin Luther Bible, a Protestant Bible, and the New Testament is also emphasized, particularly the Gospel Matthew, as this gospel shapes their values, and it contains many verses that tell them that they should remain separate from the rest of the world. Here are also some verses that tell them that they should be separate from the world and focus on their religion. In addition to remaining separate from the world, the Amish also can interact with outsiders, whom they call English, as many Amish have businesses and do business with outsiders because many Amish places are tourist destinations. In Amish lands are divided into districts. Each congregation is called a district, and it remains autonomous, as there is no central Amish organization. The leader of each district is known as a bishop, and the bishop sets the rules for each district. There are also no church buildings in Amish, as each person has their services at their homes every other Sunday. Each person would typically have a service at their home about once a year. And each district also has wagons to take everyone from their service to their homes. It is very typical for Amish to be seen in a wagon going through their village, as they do not have access to cars or other forms of transportation.
Okay, so even though Amish people want to be separated from the world, they take an opportunity to get to know the outside world. Rumspringa is a very important tradition in Amish culture. Many of you that might know of Rumspringa might think it's a time where Amish teenagers take the opportunity to try out drugs or alcohol or even have sex. But Rumspringa means to run around, and it is actually a time where Amish teenagers decide whether or not they want to join the church. So during this time of exploration, they actually use the opportunity to, being able to use technology, so they use websites like Facebook where they meet other Amish teenagers from different communities, and they actually meet up with these other Amish communities outside the city to go through their time of Rumspringa. And even once they decide to join the church, they typically keep these ties after. According to ABC News, over 80% of Amish teens decide to stay within the Amish community. If they decide not to become baptized, then they're shunned from the Amish community, which means they have to cut ties from their friends and family. The Amish shunning is called Meidung. If an Amish teen decides that they like non-Amish culture more, that can become problematic, because most people do not want to leave their friends or family. One professor put it, it's one thing to leave friends or family, but leaving the Amish community is almost like moving to a foreign country. Some Amish people have made it easier on themselves for a transition like this, because during Rumspringa they typically wear city attire and they learn city customs, so the transition is more easy. So once an Amish teen decides to become baptized, they have to stick to Amish lifestyle. One man who decided to stay with the Amish church said he liked the simple life. Amish life can become considered simple because they want to be different. Like one thing Aaron was saying, they don't use electricity. They typically depend on air and hydraulic power for small appliances like sewing machines, and they use gas power for the heater. Nowadays, Amish have become more lenient when it comes to electricity. One interesting fact I found is that they don't use freezers because they're worried that it will lead to more devices. But some families actually have telephones, but these telephones are located outside their house. And some people even have cars that are located outside the community for whenever they need it. And even though they want to be different, they still have a hard life. According to National Geographic, women are in charge of cleaning, cooking, tending clothing, and helping out neighbors. In an interview in NW Times, an Amish woman was talking about how she had to wake up before 5 a.m. to make food for her children and prepare lunch for her family. Men tend to work on the field, but also, like Aaron was saying, tourism has helped the Amish start their own shops and businesses. But for fun, Amish families sometimes venture out of the Amish community, so they visit museums and zoos. But the activity Amish people really enjoy is the classic American sport, which is baseball. So today we talked about Amish culture, values, and traditions. We talked about Amish culture through explaining the origins, the religious beliefs, their daily life, and the classic tradition Rumspringa. So even though Amish people want to be separated from the world and they don't have electricity, they're still more connected together in many ways than we are, because they don't have all these distractions like phones and computers.